morning sun broke over the dusty ridges of Silver Creek, casting long, golden streaks over the clapboard houses and the single iron rail that cut through town like a scar of progress. In that light rode Marshal Caleb Harlow, a man with a reputation for justice so cold and precise that folks swore he could shoot a snake's tongue from 50 paces. He had been a loner his whole life, until the day a letter arrived from back east, sealed with the mark of the Heartland Bridal Agency. It was his last chance at something he didn't quite understand: companionship. The agency promised him a woman suited to his character, refined, loyal, and gentle. He wired back his payment, sent his photograph, and waited. On the 3rd day of June, the stagecoach came rattling through the dust. The driver cracked his whip, and the coach halted with a hiss of brakes and a cough of dust that filled the air like smoke. From inside stepped not the dainty, parasol-holding lady he imagined, but a tall, sharp-eyed woman wearing a faded green dress, boots caked with mud, and a revolver strapped to her belt. "Name's Abigail Moore," she said, voice low, eyes steady. "The agency sent me." Caleb's brows furrowed. "You're not what I ordered," he muttered, half to himself, half to the wind that carried the dust away. The woman didn't flinch. "Maybe not," she said, meeting his stare. "But I came all this way, Marshal. You gonna send me back alone?" The townsfolk whispered behind her back, said she was a runaway, a woman with a secret past, maybe even a fugitive. But something in Caleb's gut told him to listen before judging. As the two walked through town, the silence between them wasn't empty. It was alive, like a storm building on the horizon. That evening, over coffee by the dying fire, Abigail told him bits and pieces of her life, enough to paint a picture of loss, courage, and the kind of grit that didn't come from comfort, but from surviving the hard edges of life. Caleb found himself listening longer than he planned, forgetting entirely that she wasn't the woman he expected. By the time the fire burned to embers, he realized the agency might have made a mistake, but maybe fate hadn't. By the end of that first week, the town of Silver Creek was alive with gossip. Some said the marshal had gone soft. Others swore that woman would ruin him. Abigail didn't care. She helped at the livery, mended clothes for the widows, and brought laughter to the children who'd forgotten what it sounded like. Yet there was a darkness behind her calm smile, and Caleb could feel it every time her eyes drifted toward the mountains. One night, when thunder rolled across the plains and lightning split the sky, Caleb found her sitting by the barn, cleaning her revolver in silence. "You handle that thing like you've used it," he said quietly. "I have," she replied, voice breaking the storm's rhythm. "My husband, he was a gambler. Owed the Blackwater gang more than he could pay. When they came to collect, he threw me to them like a bargaining chip. I ran before sunrise. Been running since." Caleb's jaw tightened. The Blackwater gang, the same outlaws he'd been chasing for months. Fate wasn't making mistakes. It was weaving something deeper. "You're safe now," he told her. But even he didn't believe it fully. Days later, news arrived that the gang was riding toward Silver Creek, burning, looting, killing along the way. The town panicked, but Caleb was calm. He had something to protect now. Someone. As he stood at the edge of town, rifle in hand, he felt her beside him. "Abigail, you don't have to fight," he told her. "I've been running long enough," she said, loading her pistol. The gang came at dawn. Smoke filled the air, and gunfire cracked like thunder over the plains. Caleb fought like a man possessed. And Abigail, she fought like she'd been born for it. When the dust settled, 3 outlaws lay dead, and the rest fled. But victory came with a cost. Caleb was bleeding, slumped against the fence, breathing hard. Abigail knelt beside him, hands trembling. "Don't you die on me now," she whispered. His lips curved into a faint smile. "You're still not what I ordered," he murmured, blood staining his shirt. "But maybe you're what I needed." Her tears mixed with the rain as she pressed her forehead to his. In that storm, something unspoken passed between them. Not fear, not duty, but the beginnings of love forged in fire and dust. Weeks passed before Caleb was strong enough to walk again. The town rebuilt what the gang had destroyed, but something deeper had changed in Silver Creek. Hope had returned. Abigail stayed, refusing to leave his side. She cooked, cleaned, patched his wounds, and when he finally stood again, she helped him back into his badge and boots. One morning, as the sun rose blood-red over the prairie, Caleb walked to the small wooden chapel on the edge of town. Abigail followed, unsure. Inside stood the preacher, the townsfolk, and a simple bouquet of wildflowers on the altar. "What's this?" she asked softly. Caleb turned to her, eyes clear and sure. "You came here because someone ordered you like freight on a train," he said. "But you stayed because you chose to. I ain't much for fancy words, Abigail, but I know this. I don't want another sunrise without you." Her hand trembled as he took it. The same hand that once held a gun to survive, now holding the promise of peace. "You're not what I ordered," he said again, a faint smile crossing his lips. "But you're everything I prayed for." The church fell, silent as the preacher spoke the words that bound them. Two broken souls finding something whole in each other. Outside, the plains stretched endless and golden, the wind carrying whispers of new beginnings. Abigail leaned against him as they stepped into the light, her voice soft as the breeze. "Guess I finally stopped running," she said. Caleb's arm tightened around her waist. "No, darling," he whispered. "You just found home." As the camera pans out across the sweeping plains, the sun dips low, bathing the horizon in gold and crimson. A love born from hardship now rides into forever. The kind of love only the West could forge. If stories like this stir your soul and make you feel the dust, the danger and the devotion of the Old West, then saddle up and hit that subscribe button to Old West Legends, where every tale rides straight into your heart.